I'm the intimacy doctor. Real talk, real science, real intimacy. Today we're diving into a topic that most people are too embarrassed to mention. Yet it's a piece of the human story that deserves compassion, clarity, and connection. What happens when an older man masturbates? The myths, the reality, and how it impacts emotional connection, intimacy, trust, and self-understanding. It's natural to feel a little awkward reading that title. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, what do you really believe about masturbation in later life? Does it feel like a taboo or something entirely normal? Because the truth is, by the time a man enters his later decades, say his 60s, 70s, or beyond, his sexual life doesn't simply vanish. What shifts is the rhythm, the meaning, the context. And for many, the act of solo sexual expression, masturbation, carries deeper implications. Emotional, relational, health-wise. So let's walk together through what the research shows, what the inner world of emotions is like, and what practical steps you or someone you love can take to foster greater intimacy, healthier communication, and a more understanding relationship with their body and their partner if they have one. I'll offer 3 major insights, each blending psychological, emotional intelligence, scientific behavioral research, and practical takeaways you can apply. Feel free to pause and reflect. And if at any moment you feel validated, empowered, or simply more aware, hit that like button so more people can find us here. Insight 1, the normalization myth. It's not only for the young, it's part of sexual health emotionally speaking. Many older men carry a belief, I shouldn't be masturbating anymore. I'm too old. It means something's wrong. That belief creates shame, secrecy, silence. It weakens emotional connection with self and often with a partner. If I'm doing this solo, does it mean we aren't connected? Or am I failing somehow? That internal story erodes trust, both self-trust and partner trust, and undermines communication about intimacy and needs. Research shows the myth that masturbation disappears in older age is false. A cross-sectional survey of 3,816 European adults aged about 60 to 75 found that between 41% and 65% of men reported any masturbation in the past month. And between 27% and 40% of women did. Springer Link +2, Europe PMC +2. The study also noted that solitary sexual activity can be a free, safe, and accessible way to experience sexual pleasure, independent of partner availability. Europe PMC +1. Another review states that sexual behaviors like masturbation extend into older adulthood, 50+ years, rather than simply disappearing. cornerstone.lib.mnsu.edu. So the practice is normal. The issue is how one frames it. Practical takeaway. If you're an older man, or you're partnered with one, start from the assumption that masturbation is not a sign of failure. It's a facet of sexual health and emotional well-being. Ask yourself, what do I believe about solo sexual expression at this age? Am I carrying shame or making it invisible? Then talk. I value our emotional connection, and I also value my sexual self-care. Can we talk honestly about this together? This kind of communication builds intimacy, reduces shame, and invites trust. Reflective question. What happens in your mind when you think about masturbation after 60, or whatever older means for you? Does it feel natural or does it feel taboo? Share your thoughts below so we can open the dialogue. Insight 2. It can be a complement to relationship intimacy, not a replacement emotionally and relationally. There's a myth that if an older man masturbates, it must mean the partnership is failing. The emotional connection is weak or there's some defect. That's a dangerous framing because it ties self-pleasure to guilt, to relational insecurity, and to poor communication. Instead, what if we framed it as part of a healthy intimacy ecosystem? From a relationship science perspective, research into older adults suggests that masturbation is not simply a substitute because partnered sex is lacking. Sometimes it is independent. For example, the study Who Masturbates? It Depends, Predictors of Masturbation. By gender and partnership of older adults found that older adults who reported physically and emotionally satisfying relationships were less likely to masturbate. Odds. Ratio towards 0.54, OUP academic. That suggests masturbation is influenced by the quality of emotional and physical intimacy, not merely the absence of it. In the European study, attitudes played a role. Those who believed sex is beneficial for older people were more likely to masturbate. Springer Link +1. So solo pleasure doesn't necessarily mean the relationship is broken. It may simply reflect a healthy openness to sexual self-care even within partnership. Practical takeaway. For couples, talk about masturbation openly if comfortable. I value our closeness and also my personal sexual needs. How can we hold both together? For an older man alone or in a relationship, masturbation can be a self-care tool. Understanding what brings you pleasure, staying connected to your body, reducing performance pressure, and then bringing that awareness into partner intimacy if relevant. It builds communication, strengthens emotional connection, and supports trust. Engagement prompt. If you're in a relationship, how have you or your partner approached solo sexual expression? Has it ever triggered a conversation about trust, communication, or emotional connection? Share below. Insight 3. Physiological changes happen. But that doesn't mean loss of intimacy from a biological and behavioral viewpoint. Aging brings shifts. Testosterone may decline, erectile function may change, health issues like diabetes, arthritis, cardiovascular changes may affect sexual sensation and performance. Emotionally, older men often face fears. Can I still please myself or my partner? Does masturbating reflect decline or resilience? These thoughts influence communication in relationships and the intimacy climate. The review of older adult sexual behavior showed that masturbation behaviors tend to decline in frequency as people age. Springer link +1. Another broader discussion on sexual activity and aging emphasizes that people do not become asexual with age. They modify their sexual activity. The Lancet. From an emotional intelligence standpoint, recognizing change, not decline, is crucial. If you or your partner say, "We can't do what we used to," it's not the end of intimacy. It's an invitation to adapt, to deepen communication, emotional connection, trust. Practical takeaway. Accepting and communicating change becomes intimate. For example, I've noticed my body is different. Some things that used to be automatic now feel different. I'd like to talk about what still brings me pleasure, whether solo or with you, and how we can connect around that. Explore other forms of touch, emotional closeness, solo exploration that informs partnered intimacy. If solo expression feels more comfortable sometimes, use it as a way to understand your evolving body and pleasure, and share that if comfortable. Invite reflection. What changes have you noticed in your own sexual experience as you've aged, or witnessed in someone you love? Has that triggered fear, silence, or new conversations about intimacy and trust? Leave a comment. Insight 4. Myths that still hold back. Emotional connection, shame, isolation, downtime means stop. Here's where emotional, psychological, and relational science meet. Many older men internalize the myth that everything sexual should wind down, that masturbation is an act of desperation, or that discussing solo pleasure is unmanly or inappropriate. That mindset fosters isolation, reduces emotional honesty, erodes connection with partner and self. Research again. The European study found that less permissive sexual attitudes, for example, disapproval of sex without love, were associated with lower reported masturbation among older adults. Springer link +1. Moreover, the literature review on older adult masturbation emphasized that the behavior is understudied in part because of social stigma around sexual expression in later life. Cornerstone. lib.mnsu.edu. In other words, the myth of "it's weird to masturbate when you're old" is primarily cultural, not evidence-based. These myths hurt emotional connection and silence communication, which in turn saps trust, diminishes intimacy, and leaves bodies and minds uninformed. Practical takeaway. If you catch yourself or your partner thinking, "Maybe I shouldn't do this anymore," pause and reframe. Masturbation is not only okay, it is a valid part of sexual health at any age. Encourage open conversation if you're in a relationship. Would you be okay if I explore what still brings me pleasure on my own sometimes? It's not about hiding anything. It's about staying connected and honest. For self-work, examine your beliefs. Where did I learn that sex or self-pleasure stops at a certain age? Does that belief serve me or hold me back? Changing that belief supports emotional intelligence, self-trust, and relational trust. Now let's pull this together. What happens when an older man masturbates? He affirms his sexual self, his body's continuity, his inner emotional life, and sometimes his relationship's capacity for honest communication. The myths we carry, that solo pleasure must mean failure, shame, or the end of intimacy, bury emotional honesty, block communication, and fracture trust. The reality the research gives us is richer, kinder, that masturbation remains a part of sexual life in later years, influenced by attitude, partner connection, health status, and emotional climate. It doesn't define the relationship, but it can inform it. It doesn't replace emotional connection. It can support it. If you're an older man or a partner of one, or simply someone seeking to understand intimacy across life's phases, your takeaway is this: treat sexual self-care and partnered intimacy as two sides of the same coin. Communication matters. Emotional connection matters. Trust matters. And above all, your body, your desires, your pleasure, your emotional needs deserve respect, transparency, and growth no matter your age. Before we close, I want to invite you one more time. What do you think about the relationship between solo sexual expression and partnered intimacy as we age? If you've experienced this in your life or relationship, what has helped you talk about it, or what has held you back? Share your thoughts below so you'll not only give voice to your experience, but help others feel less alone. If this video resonated with you, if it loosens some of the shame, expands your communication, deepens your trust, then hit that like button so more people can find it, and share it with someone you trust and care about who might benefit. If you haven't yet, subscribe to The Intimacy Doctor and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos about intimacy, relationship advice, emotional connection, relationship science, and sexual health. And if you're ready for the next step, watch our next video where we'll explore how to talk with your partner about solo sexual needs and build emotional connection around it. It ties directly into this topic and will give you practical communication tools to deepen intimacy and trust. Thank you for spending this time with me. Remember, your sexual health at any age matters. Your emotional connection at any age matters. Your intimacy, and whether solo or partnered, matters. I'll see you in the next video.